When I was doing my research for the cultural object speech, I read an article, and one of the things that they said was think about if you had a fire, what would you grab? What would be most important? Well, about 8 years ago, I did have a fire, and I grabbed the keys to the vehicle and my purse and the coat because it was cold outside. But after it was safe to go back into what was left of the house, the thing that I was most concerned with was my big teak box that contained all of my family photos from great grandparents to grandparents to aunts and uncles and cousins and my parents, and pictures of me growing up and my children growing up and my grandchildren. And thankfully, in the living room, there it was, that big teak box, and the outside was burned, but 90% of the pictures were still in there. And this is my cultural object. Now it's a big old plastic tub that's too heavy to lift, full of family photos. These photos have been so important to me and my culture and learning about my background and remembering the things that I've learned in my life. There's pictures of my great-grandparents, my grandparents, my parents, children, grandchildren, stories of the people who all influenced my culture. That Southern rural life, hardworking, church-going, honest, poor in wealth, but rich in spirit people who never complained and never talked about what they didn't have. They took care of the things that they did have. They laughed. They had real conversations. And all of these things are important to my culture. The photos remind me of all the stories and the people that are no longer here and their contributions to my living family. And I hope to pass these things on to my children and my grandchildren. That honesty, that hard working, being thankful for the things that you have and not worrying about the things that you don't have. So I have some of those old photos and I'd like to share them with you. These are my grandparents. I spent a lot of time with them growing up on their farm, which was pretty simple. Simple house, not much amenities, no running water, wood stove, just simple things. And here's my grandma when she was a young woman working in the woodpile. And a picture of my dad's family, who I grew up with. A picture of my dad when he was a young man in the army in Korea. My mom and my grandma in the kitchen doing the dishes, where they had to heat up the stove to be able to wash those dishes. And my grandpa, after a hard day's work on the farm, come in and have supper, get in his chair, talk for a little bit, tell some stories, and take a nap, and then go to bed. Get up in the summer at 4:30 in the morning and do it all over again, 6 days a week. And that's my mama when she was a young woman, and thankfully she's still around today and she can still share some of those stories with me. But all of those things that I learned when I was growing up, and from these wonderful people, and from the photos of the people that I never knew, their stories of survival, of hard work, the obstacles that they overcame to have families, and those families go on to have their families, and the parts of the culture that I try to pass on to my children today, of hardworking, honesty, trying to do the right thing, taking time to laugh, have conversations, and just enjoy your life while you have it. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my little presentation today.